is Project Time Machine, working with volunteers to unlock our collections, with Nathan Ireland and Julia Edge from Littlehampton Museum in West Sussex. Nathan is a recent graduate who carried out his placement year at Littlehampton Museum. He has returned as Project Time Machine Officer. Oh, that's a nice, lovely title. Supervising and supporting the volunteers. Julia has been curator at Littlehampton Museum since January 2022, and she is overseeing Project Time Machine. Welcome up. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me? Hooray. So, I'm Julia. I'm the curator at Littlehampton Museum. I'm here with Nathan, who's our Project Time Machine officer, and we're going to tell you about our current project, Project Time Machine, and specifically how we've been working with volunteers sourced from our community. I'm going to give you a brief introduction to Littlehampton, to the museum, and to our project, and then I'm going to hand over to Nathan to talk about his work with the volunteers. So Littlehampton, it's in West Sussex, it's a coastal town. Our museum is a local authority museum, and we're owned and run by Littlehampton Town Council. We have 2.14 permanent members of staff, and we have just over 50,000 objects in our collection. We have a growing number of visitors, but last year it was a little bit over 9,000 a year. So our project, it's an Arts Council National Lottery project grant under their Unlocking Collections theme. It's in two parts. The first part we finished already, but it was quite an extensive community consultation. So we partnered with 36 community groups, and we were asking them to help us to disseminate a survey and to encourage people to participate in our focus groups, and also to source some volunteers to help with the second part of the project. The aim was to find out what people wanted from their museum, and also to identify any barriers to participation. So this first part of the project fed into the second part, which is going on at the moment. And this is working with our community volunteers in the galleries, cataloguing and reviewing our social history collection. This is about 2,600 objects. So we're working in the galleries, and the aim is to review our collections, to improve our knowledge of the collections, and also to unlock some previously hidden histories. So our 36 community partner groups, they were made up of schools, colleges, care homes, local charities, including Shop Mobility, Home Start, our local voluntary aided action groups, local societies, including some community cultural groups and local history societies and the like, and a group of local churches. So now I'm going to pass on to Nathan, who's going to tell you a bit more in detail about his work with the volunteers. Over to you, Nathan.
Good afternoon. My name's Nathan, and I'm the Project Time Machine Officer, and it has been my job to work with the volunteers in our gallery, cataloguing the social history collection. So as has been mentioned, we had 36 partnership groups. Using these alongside social prescribing was one of the ways we advertised for volunteers. Here you can see one of our members, Chris, doing his very best to entice people to join our team. Using these pathways was really a great way of sourcing volunteers from the heart of the community, people who are active in the town and want to be involved with the museum. We saw two different roles, which I'll talk more about soon. But what this meant is that we were able to look for specific skills for each role, and this allowed volunteers to apply for a role that they thought would best suit them and that they'd get the most out of it. The next slide is another 1-minute advertisement video that was made by an A-level student, and this shows volunteers at the museum asking for some to join Project Time Machine. Ooh. Is it going to play? It was really good. Oh, okay. I'm sure you're all chomping at the bit to join our team after that. So once recruitment had taken place, of course, the next step is training. Here is myself and one of our volunteers, John, in one of our galleries working on modes. The key thing to note about training is that it takes time. Volunteers are only in once or twice a week for a couple of hours. They're not in every day like we are, so things slip their mind and they just need more one-to-one training to really get the supervision that they need when they're starting a new project. For future projects, we would allocate more time for training than we did for this, as it does take quite a few weeks. So as I mentioned, we offered 2 roles. Catalogue volunteers are those working directly on modes to catalogue the social history collection, and this means that most of the training for them went into modes, using museum records and accession registers on updating provenance and things like that. Research volunteers are those creating research packs related to the town and its wider history. This might be potted histories for schools and businesses, and therefore training for them went into how to use ancestry sites, other museum records, and other methods of research. And finally, it's important to be ready to adapt, first and foremost between individual volunteers. They're all going to be at different levels. You can't expect them to be at the same level, so you have to change how you work with them. And also practically, things in projects change. For us, photography was something we were going to get volunteers to do, but because of space, volunteer mobility and consistency of photos, we changed this, and I've been taking them, which has been more beneficial for the volunteers to continue working smoothly and for the project as a whole. So moving on to checking in, once volunteers have been trained, it's important to continue supervising. Here's myself and another Chris having a jolly time on modes in the gallery. For those of you who know modes, jolly and modes might be a bit of a oxymoron, but there we go. And yeah, working with them daily means that you can really understand how they're doing. One week they may need more help, one week they may need less. Some volunteers like to get more stuck in, some like more of a chat before starting work, and building this rapport helps you to understand that. You can also do formal check-ins like probation meetings, and this allows you to let volunteers know how the project's going and how they're doing, but it allows them to feedback on how they think it's going as well. Part of our formal check-in, I designed a volunteer questionnaire. This asks questions such as whether they felt fulfilled by their role and happy at the museum, and this gives us something tangible to give back to projects, grant suppliers as well. So from working with them and from the questionnaire, we were able to understand what volunteers want from their role. A massive part is the social aspect of volunteering. For many, it's about getting out the house, doing something practical, getting to chat with people. This is important for volunteers' mental and physical well-being. And part of this is tea and biscuits. Like a well-oiled machine, volunteers run a lot better with tea and biscuits. It may sound counterproductive to take away from work to have a chat over tea, but actually it increases morale and is better for work quality. A lot of volunteers are in a role that they haven't been before, whether that's object handling or working with computer, things like modes, as well as building on interest in things like history. So allowing volunteers to get involved in every step of the project is a great way to allow them to learn and build new skills. And finally, it's about feeling part of something bigger. Before the project started, we had a meeting with all of the volunteers, and then we had a Christmas tea party. This means that volunteers are able to see everyone working throughout the week. If they're on a Tuesday, they might not see who's in on a Wednesday. So they feel part of something bigger. Here we have Fiona creating a display case, which went up to the public, and again, it's about their work having an output to the wider community. So the value of volunteers ultimately cannot be overstated. First and foremost, they bring local knowledge into the museum. This is one of our volunteers, Anne, who is an absolute wellspring of knowledge. On the projects that she's been working on, she's been able to do research, but also just bring her own knowledge of the town and the history into the research packs. Volunteers are at the heart of our project. Without them, it simply wouldn't exist. It's their time and effort that goes into records, which allows us to do social media posts, display cases, and modes records that people will be looking at in 5-10 years' time. It's all their hard work. You can put volunteer hours into a monetary figure, which can be helpful for applying for future grants. You can do this by taking the number of hours worked and multiplying it by minimum wage. If volunteer hours stay the same as they have been, by the end of the project, they'll have contributed over £15,000 to the project. And so, looking to the future, here we have Chris again and David at a Project Time Machine stall. This is, again, another way that we're in the community. So when recruiting for volunteers, we'll be using our partnership groups again, social prescribing, to make sure that our community is working in the museum. It's important to have space and equipment ready before you start. This is helpful for letting volunteers settle in, as well as helping with the training time. We've had 18 volunteers working on the project, 12 of them completely new to the museum, 6 were already with us, and this has shown the need for a dedicated volunteer supervisor to work with them daily. And finally, if the community is our audience, it's important to have the community working with us, and therefore we should celebrate the hard work that they provide. Thank you.